So let's take some questions from page 67, the second page 67. Again, this is the last assignment that's due tomorrow. Online people, there'll be a spot to submit a PDF of this, or of all of it, and it'll be a posted online Schoology assignment. All right, so what questions do we have from page 67? Yes, sir.
You do 65.
Number 65. Limit as x approaches 0, sine of x times 1 minus cosine of x all over x squared. That's a good question. I was just looking at the quiz, and I don't think this one is exactly on there, but there was one kind of close to this. Let's see. I'm thinking back to those special limits that we're supposed to know. Sine of x over x equals 1. Well, that's not exactly true unless I put the limit statement on there. And the other one was 1 minus cosine x over x equals 0. So those are the two things I'm kind of working with, and I would like for those to show up. And in fact, that's almost what we have right here. So if I split up this x and rewrite this as sine of x over x times 1 minus cosine x over x, well, this one is 1, and that one is 0, and 1 times 0 is 0. Emily.
I'm sorry, it's not about this question, is it okay?
Just a second.
Okay.
What I forgot to do on this one is to check to substitute first. So I just knew that it wasn't going to work because it's in the hard section of the questions. But I do still need to remember that I'm supposed to try substitution first. Although it doesn't take long. If you get 0 over 0, then it doesn't work. You got to try something else.
Can you do number 71?
71. Cosine over cotangent. Limit as x approaches pi over 2. Cosine x over cotangent of x. Let's see. I suppose we could substitute first. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Yeah, that's right. And cotangent is cosine over sine, so that's 0. So this would be 0 over 0, so that substitution didn't work. But in place of cotangent, I could rewrite that as cosine over sine. And then it's maybe not clear on exactly how or if those things can cancel. So if you need to keep it, change it, flip it to make sure you get it right. Keep it, change it, flip it. The cosines do in fact cancel. And the sine of x that was in the denominator of the denominator ends up going to the numerator. So the limit as x approaches pi over 2 of sine of x. Now let's substitute, and the sine of pi over 2 is 1. So a little bit of trig in that one. Connor?
Number 67.
67. We're hitting all these tricky ones. Limit as x approaches 0, sine squared x over x. Alright, well, first job is plug in 0, but I immediately get 0 over 0, so that's not good. I got to do something else. I do know that I can, like, sine x over x is one of the things I know, so if I rewrite this, kind of split up the signs, so that sine of x over x shows up. That's 1. And then I can substitute on the other one. Sine of 0 is 0. And so I get 0 for an answer. It's okay to have zeros. It's just not okay to have 0 over 0. That just doesn't work. We don't know what that is. But if you get 1 times 0, that's okay. Good questions.
Will you do 69?
Mm-hmm. Limit as h approaches 0. So they switched the variable on us, but that's okay. 1 minus cosine of h squared over h. Well, I'm going to try substitution, although I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. 1 minus cosine of 0. Cosine of 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 over 0. So yeah, it doesn't work. But I'm close to having, like, part of this I know works. Like, I know what that is. So if I split it up, this is 0. And then we can substitute on the other one and see what happens. Cosine of 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So on this one, it's like a no-doubter. 0 times 0, that's okay. That's just definitely 0. So lots of algebra tricks combined with the two sort of new trig limits that we have to know. Combine that with your algebra and with your trig identity stuff, and you do some manipulations and you end up with some answers. So a lot of stuff goes into those trig identities.